What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages, Joker back again once again, and today we are back with this week's This Week at Bungie. And this week, Bungie is kinda sort of diving back into subclass 3.0. Well, I guess technically speaking it's subclass 3.2 or 3.3 or 3.4, 5, something like that. Whatever it is, by the Traveler's blown out backside, this TWAB is a thick boy. Now, first things first, I don't mind dev communications, but I have to wonder how much of this 9-page monstrosity is actually necessary. Well, I actually know the answer to that because I've edited it down, and not much. It is peak definition of, if I had more time, I would have written a shorter letter. But I digress, so let's just go ahead and cut to the quick and dive right in. To abilities and beyond! There's no doubt few things feel as satisfying as thunder crashing. Yeah, nobody gives a fuck. Cut it. Sandbox team. Hey folks, Sandbox team here to talk through some of the changes we've lined up in yada 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 moving forward. Last December, we released update 3.4.0, which reduced ability cooldown rates across the game! Only then to give us a 100% uptime on things like Hunter Invis, Titan Overshields. Congratulations! Destiny is saved! With the goal of reducing focus on abilities in high-level crucible modes like Trials of Osiris. No. That's bait. They know I'm reading this. That can't be anything other than bait, because if it's not, that means Bungie is so catastrophically out of fucking touch with not just its player base, but its own internal development teams. Because here's what happened. They nerfed ability spam across the game. Cool! For 2 modes that hardly anyone plays? Not cool. Like, the vast majority of the player base could give 2 shits and a fuck about Trials of Osiris, a mode that actually has rewards. And then comp? Comp is a fucking joke. But then they released subclass 3.0 with far more ability spam than we've ever seen in the history of the franchise. Like, did somebody internally miscommunicate goals here? And they're just playing it off like we're fucking dumb? Like we don't play the game? How do you spend days, weeks, months, the better part of years building and playtesting these 3.0 subclasses with the goal of reducing ability usage in PvP, then introduce some of the most Kraft macaroni and cheese bullshit to ever grace Destiny? Like, Bungie, what's the disconnect here? What are you not understanding? Who at Bungie thought PvP players wanted 100% uptime on invisibility and overshields and healing in PvP? Who thought that was a good idea? And then for you to come out and go, yeah, man, actually ability usage, we fixed it. We saved Bikini Bottom, Patrick. But I digress. We wanted to reduce the number of low-cost abilities that could down a Guardian in one hit. For additional context, prior to update 3.4.0, the super energy economy. Wait a minute. Wait. Hold on. Are you Fluff and or kidding me right meow? Wait. So they said, we wanted to reduce the number of low-cost abilities that could down a Guardian in one hit. And then their example wasn't something like shoulder charge or the throwing knife. No. It was supers. Well, I guess technically an ability. When you're talking to the community, abilities and supers are 2 completely different things. An ability is all the shit you get to do when you're not shooting your gun, but you're also not using a super or moving, right? It's your grenades. It's your melee. It's your, like, special abilities like throwing up your towering barricade and getting an overshield. It's like throwing your smoke bomb on the ground and turning your entire fire team invisible. It's not Titan Slam. And you might be thinking to yourself,
but Joker, maybe you just misunderstood the difference between supers and abilities and that they're actually the same thing.
No, because they'll separate them as they go through this TWAB, and they've always talked about supers and abilities as 2 very different things. That's not something I'm pulling out of my ass. That is something Bungie is gaslighting us with right now to make it appear like they've done something about the ability spam problem, and it's not that big of a deal, which is completely and utter BS. But I digress. Let me go ahead and rewind and start that section from the beginning again. We also wanted to reduce the number of low-cost abilities that could down a Guardian in one hit. For additional context, prior to update 3.4.0, the super energy economy at the time promoted extremely passive play in high-level PvP activities to secure guaranteed round wins with the use of roaming supers. Ability cooldowns within each slot were identical, and cooldowns were not something that could be easily changed to help balance ability potency. The subclass 3.0 updates were in the works, and adding build crafting options and additional combinations of perks, abilities, and keywords was unavoidably going to create power spikes that were not present outside of supers in the present subclass options. Is Bungie like trying to gaslight the entire Destiny community? Do they think we don't remember how the game played before December of last year? Is this like development retcon? Are they trying to retcon reality? Because if you look at the game before the 30th update and the game as it plays now, the game before the 30th update was far more aggressive. Oh, let me count the fucking ways. For one, you could jump and fire your fucking weapon at the same time with no penalty. Oh wait, no. There was a penalty. You had to be decent at the game. You had to be able to press the 2 buttons at once. Or not at once, but within relative time period of each other. You could shoulder charge people, which incentivized Titans to play very recklessly. You weren't standing at the back of the map with a 2-burst pulse rifle, killing everyone while still in spawn. You didn't have entire teams standing behind towering barricades that they could shoot through while getting overshield. You didn't have people waiting out Wards of Dawn because they knew they would get their super faster than literally every other super in the fucking game. What the categorical fuck do you mean when you say the changes after the 30th anniversary with subclasses 3.0 made the game less slow? What? Are we playing the same game? What game are you playing, Bungie, internally that we're not playing? Or is everybody at Bungie just so catastrophically bad at the game that they honestly, legitimately, totally believe that the game plays faster now than it did a year ago? Because they're wrong.
Hi, I'm Kevin Yanis. I'm a senior Crucible designer here. I work on game modes, ammo system, ranks, things that everyone cares about. And I'm going to be running a new weapon, Luna's Howl, and I'm going to run a bow actually. Ooh,
that's precision.
One of the things we're talking about, it's you touch one thing, it all breaks, all changes, and I know we play with various.
It's all about information. Ooh, and aiming. Aiming is all.
Oh, sniper.
Sniper, yeah. And you'll convert your grenade pretty quickly into select. The Night Stalker Super Spectral Blades, when you go invisible, you can actually see guys behind walls the entire time as well.
Work in the hands of Mr. Giannis here with that. That's certainly not the way I thought.
Yeah, there's so much like that changed with the core sandbox that makes the old exotics also really interesting and relevant again. They also mean PvE players as well.
Of course, yeah.
All these changes affect PvE. We've increased how effective shoulder charge is in PvE as well. Same with throwing knives and melee damage. Like all that stuff is relevant in PvE.
Yeah. Yep. The final week.
It will be interesting.
Oh,
yeah, worth noting, I think you guys talked about this in the TWAB this week, but worth noting, whatever damage type you decide to live with when Forsaken launches, you will stay. You will continue to have.
This is the dude who decides things like nerfing in air accuracy, nerfing slide, that we need skill-based matchmaking, that we need a flawless trials pool, all while his boss plays with people who boost in Trials of Osiris. So I guess he's completely aware that the flawless pool sucks. But hey, fucking details. And I know a lot of people are gonna say,
But Joker, they just made the changes that streamers wanted.
Because that's kind of the normal scapegoat, and a couple of years ago, I may have even agreed with you. But if they were actively trying to appease the streamer community, the flawless pool would be gone. Skill-based matchmaking would be gone. Camo and overshield spam would be gone. Hand cannons and shotguns would be the meta. And they wouldn't have touched movement at all. No, I legitimately believe that Bungie is just so bad at playing their own game that they're throwing shit at a wall and hoping something sticks. Throwing content creators and streamers under the bus for showing off your favorite broken build or suggesting a course of action is silly. Because ultimately at the end of the day, Bungie is a multi-billion-dollar company with over 1,000 employees. They are perfectly capable of fucking the game up without our help. But back to the article. To address the first point, with the changes to trials, reduced round timers, the addition of zone capture as a trials variant, and the systematic changes to super cooldown times. This is no longer something we're particularly concerned about, though there are some outliers at the very low and very high ends of the recharge tiers we're looking at. Giving cooldowns independent timers solved what was stated in the second bullet above. To reiterate the third point, this was done to give us additional runway for the subclass 3.0 updates. Without the 30th anniversary tuning pass, the ability energy economy would not be sustainable in a post subclass 3.0 world, with additional build crafting options and an enormous combination set of abilities and perks. So this is one of those things where it's like, duh? Like, one would hope they would balance the supers and abilities for subclass 3.0 differently than the original subclasses. And on top of that, you would think if they have the opportunity to design a new subclass system from the ground up, more or less, that it would be balanced differently than it originally was and not just bolted onto what already existed. Instead, the uptime of natural game abilities has taken the spotlight as the most vocal pain point for our players, particularly in the Crucible. Spoiler alert, they're not going to be doing anything about invisibility or Titan Overshield. Titan Overshield isn't even mentioned. And invisibility? Well, invisibility might have something done about it in 3 to 6 months. And to me, this is hilarious because these two things have been kind of annoying in PvP for the better part of a year, and Bungie still doesn't know what they're going to do about it. Okay. In the long term, we plan to do another holistic pass on the ability energy economy to bring outliers in line to get our baseline closer to the 60-40 gunplay ability goal we laid out previously for the Crucible, and better enable our PvE activities to challenge players while letting subclass fantasies shine through. So, the jaded, cynical part of me, who has been playing Destiny for way too long, can't wait to see how they internally mix message the shit out of that. At the same time, that is the proper direction. I'm sorry, PvE casuals, PvE is easy, and this isn't relative. This isn't like a
But Joker, easy is relative, it's subjective.
casuals. This isn't Dark Souls. This is Destiny. Even at its hardest, it's still really easy. Like, your builds do most of the work for you. There's like a handful of weapons that you need to use. They're really easy to get, and honestly, ability energy and ability spam does most of the work for you. But even if it didn't, there's no rewards in any of the air quote difficult content that is worth getting your panties in a knot because they nerfed your abilities over. There's nothing so hard in this game that is locking you out of getting good weapons that you need to be upset about if they make the game, in the highest end of gameplay, slightly a little more difficult. But I digress. Back to the article. To set expectations now, that is not what the Season 19 ability update is. Any large-scale ability economy tuning would be done on a post-Lightfall timeframe, so we can include Strand in our holistic review. So what that tells me is we're not going to see any changes 3 to 6 months post Lightfall. So 8 to 9 months from now. On top of that, that does not give me hope that Strand will come out as anything resembling balanced. I'm kind of getting Stasis flashbacks. Strand may be released overpowered to sell a DLC, but it will be nerfed, which I hope is a buyer beware lesson that people are taking into account. But hey, you know what? At least Bungie's being honest and giving us a realistic time frame. So there's that, but what exactly are they doing that's not 6 months to almost a year down the road? For Season 19, our primary goal is to more closely normalize the power of our existing subclasses, giving us more of a standard baseline that we can use for future tuning. This is coming to targeted updates to outliers on the high and low ends of the light subclasses and Stasis. Let's get into it. Solar. With Solar 3.0, our goal was to get persistent healing in a place where it felt viable in high-end PvE. However, with the update to Resilience that released alongside Solar 3.0, Restoration has proved to be too powerful in our current suite of activities, and has been a particular pain point point in high-level PvP. See what I mean when I say it sounds like there's multiple teams within Bungie, all working on different updates, but none of them coordinating? None of them talking? None of them even comparing notes? Or thinking 3 steps down the line? To that end, we are making a small adjustment for restoration ×1 and a larger adjustment for restoration ×2 to make sure that a careless player can still be punished by an opposing guardian or a particularly crafty PvE combatant. Restoration ×1. Base healing rate reduced from 25 to 20 health per second. 40 health per second in PvE activities down from 50. Restoration ×2. Base healing rate reduced from 40 to 32.5 health per second, 65 health per second in PvE activities, down from 80. No longer stacks with healing rift healing. The stronger heal over time value is prioritized and will stop the weaker heal over time value from taking effect. Overall, we're content with the potency of Radiant and its place in the sandbox, but in its current state, its uptime has no meaningful drawbacks, so we're making a few changes to the Solar Fragment suite to reduce the uptime. Ember of Torches, Radiant base duration reduced from 10 seconds to 8 seconds. Now applies a -10 discipline penalty while equipped. Ember of Solace now provides a bonus 50% to Radiant duration rather than a flat 5 seconds. Note that this is consistent with its behavior with Restoration, so they're shaving off percentages, but how much this will actually matter is all academic. But more than that, this doesn't seem that significant. For example, the -10 discipline penalty. Anyone who actually gives a flying fuck about using discipline all the time is just going to build into it. That might be harder for your average player, for your casual player who don't necessarily have the resources to do that, but these changes are not targeting things that the average player are doing. They're targeting high-end PvP and high-end PvE. But then again, all we're doing is talking about shaving off a few seconds here or there. I don't know, I just have a feeling that healing on demand is still going to be kinda sort of a problem for the next few iterations. Next up, Knock 'em Down. Golden Gun now provides 15% bonus damage resistance to Deadshot Golden Gun and no longer provides bonus duration. No longer provides 15% damage resistance to Marksman Golden Gun. I'm sure the hunters are seething. Blade Barrage bonus projectiles reduced from 5 to 3 per group. It now releases a total of 20 knives, down from 24. Okay, I guess. Does that actually matter? Next, Celestial Fire. So apparently, according to Bungie, people were trading a lot with the melee because of the previous changes. This is amusing to me as somebody who uses melee a lot, because the way that hit detection works in Destiny is kinda sorta shit. And if you have a KD that uses both sides of the decimal point, well, your games are filled with lag. So is this a problem with the melee, or is this a problem with Bungie's network? The world may never know. So what did they do? Increase close range melee damage from 90 to 100. Players using Celestial Fire and the auto melee option are no longer disadvantaged in close range melee fights. Not sure this will change anything because the aforementioned melee hit detection and networking conditions, but you know, neat, because eventually, hopefully those issues will go away, and then when they do, this will be cool for anybody who uses Celestial Fire. See, we can be positive here. Void has some problematic aspects, so let's see if Bungie is fixing anything. Overshield. Ooh, getting right into it. Oh wait, I kind of already spoiled this at the beginning of the video. They're not doing anything, but let's pretend like I didn't say that. Fixed an issue where Overshield was only providing 25% PvE only damage resistance to the Overshield, rather than the intended 50%. And no, as I spoiled earlier and just moments ago, PvP usage is not addressed. I guess they still don't care about PvP players being hyper passive, even though they said they did, and that's why abilities were getting nerfed. They could have done anything, literally anything, to the Overshield that Titans give, but they didn't. They could have weakened the barricade, they could have weakened the Overshield, they could have increased the time it takes for Overshields to recharge, they could have decreased the duration of the Overshield after leaving the proximity of the barricade, but nope, nothing, nada, zilch. Okay. But moving forward, now according to Bungie, Void Warlocks are apparently really good. I don't play Void Warlocks, so I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. That's not to say that Bungie isn't making any changes to Void Warlocks, at least the Nova Bomb Super. Nova Bomb Vortex. Increase initial projectile speed by 21%. Increase radius of inward pull on impact by 17%. Increase strength of inward pull on impact by 20%. For Sentinel Titans in Season 19, we're making a change to Shield Bash to make its suppression effect more consistent when the user impacts a fast-moving target in PvP. Wait a minute, hold on. Does this mean that my theory about shoulder charge being wonky since the Arc 3.0 and all the other updates actually, now that I think about it, being due to how fast players are moving, might be right? Its current implementation results in far too many whiffs on quick targets, especially while the target is airborne. So what did they do? Shield Bash improved reliability of applying suppression. As we previously announced in Season 19, the damage bonus provided by Divinity is being reduced, which we hope makes Deadfall Shadow Shot a more attractive option for situations like boss damage phases. Personally speaking, I still think that this is a dumb nerf because it's not going to matter that much. It's one of those things, it's like they did it to say that they're doing something, but realistically, it does nothing. However, even if it was the most egregious Salt got his way version of nerfing Divinity, we've gone from one mandatory weapon to multiple people having to have a mandatory super and subclass, which I think is just kind of dumb. I do. It really takes away the play your way mentality for the game. Now you're not playing your way, you're playing the very specific way that Bungie designed you to play for X, Y, and Z encounters. And I think that's kind of dumb. More so in an MMO, or a game that, you know, pretends to be an MMO, but hey, fucking details. So what did they do to Shadow Shot? Shadow Shot Deadfall. Increased tether anchor lifetime when triggered from 8 seconds to 12. Shadow Shot Mobius Quiver. Reduced tether anchor lifetime when triggered from 8 seconds to 6 seconds. They then go on to say, so we know invis is an issue, but oh shucks, we're not doing anything about it now or anytime soon. Maybe sometime within the next year, you know, after Lightfall comes out and after we've had a chance to kind of watch how Strand works, and it's all just, it's so fucking stupid. Invisibility has been an issue since it released. Everybody knew invisibility was going to be an issue, and yet here we are. Touch of Thunder storm grenades are a pain in the ass, and they're getting nerfed. Hey! Whoa. Did Bungie actually knock out one of the actual issues here? That's like 1 out of 8,752. Not bad! Touch of Thunder Storm Grenade. Decrease Touch of Thunder Storm Grenade's base roaming duration from 5 seconds to 4 seconds. Decrease the bonus lifetime granted by Spark of Magnitude to the Enhanced Storm Grenade from 2 seconds to 1.5 seconds. Updated Friend or Foe visual language. Previously, the Friend or Foe ring surrounding the Touch of Thunder Storm Grenade lightning strikes blinked on and off between strikes, and there was no indication within the cloud itself of whether it was friend or foe. Well, I figure taking damage while in the cloud is a pretty good indication. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Now the ring persists through the lifetime of the storm, and enemy storms have an additional VFX layer in the cloud itself to help differentiate them from those created by allies. Ballistic Slam will be getting a 16% buff in PvE. In the theme of this, Hunter's Tempest Strike is also getting a 30% buff in PvE, and Arc Souls is going from 35 damage to 60 damage in PvE. On top of that, Ball Lightning, increased travel range from 27.5 meters to 35 meters. Chain Lightning, increased damage in PvE against combatants by 50%. Chaos Reach also gets kind of a buff-ish, maybe. You get to use it kinda slightly sooner in PvP, so yay? Or something? Reduce base cooldown from 9 minutes and 16 seconds to 7 minutes and 35 seconds. I feel bad for Chaos Reach fans because it's supposed to be your I melt shit button, but it's not anymore, and Tickle Fingers has like Titan Slam, it's a roaming super, it does everything, it slices, it dices, it pulverizes. Chaos Reach fans, you have my complete and utter sympathy. But hey, moving forward. Stasis! Let's talk about Stasis. We don't have any intentions of returning Stasis to its original potency at Beyond Light's launch, but there are elements of Stasis that we swung very hard at with update 3.2.0.3 and 3.4.0 that have fallen behind our current sandbox power bar. Our first targeted change is to the slow status effect. In its initial form, slow did too much and penalized too many facets of player performance. But we aren't happy with its current form, which just feels like a stepping stone to freezing your target. We are making a measured change to improve slow's primary utility, reducing movement speed, and leaving slow's other effects where they are for now. Stasis slow, increase movement speed and penalty while slowed by 10%. So I'm kind of mixed on this. On one hand, you don't want abilities that are useless or feel like a waste of time to use. On the other, nobody, and I mean nobody, wants more nerfs, even if they're indirect, to movement speed or movement capabilities altogether. Cold Snap grenades have been falling under our reliability target for some time now. While things like Ozymancy gloves have helped solve that problem, Cold Snaps fail to find even slow-moving targets often enough that we felt like a change was necessary. Cold Snap grenades. Cold Snap Seekers can now adjust its trajectory for 0.5 seconds after creation, rather than immediately finding a target and traveling towards their last known position. With Duskfield grenades, we felt it didn't currently punish players in the area of effect who fail to relocate quickly enough. Duskfield grenades increase slow stack application rate on players by 13%. Due to potency at launch, Stasis had a significant number of single fragment slot aspects, particularly on the Revenant Hunter. We took this opportunity to review the single slot Stasis aspects across Revenant Hunter and Behemoth Titan, and found that a couple of them didn't make sense in the current sandbox. So, we're bumping up these to 2 slots each. Revenant Hunter, Winter's Shroud, fragment slots increased from 1 to 2. Behemoth Titan, Cryoclasm, fragment slots increased from 1 to 2. Glacial Harvest felt like a hard choice to make over Ice Flare Bolts, Bleak Watcher, and Frost Pulse. We believe a portion of that friction comes from Glacial Harvest's lengthy cooldown after activation, so we're reducing it by 33%. Shadebinder, Glacial Harvest, reduced cooldown on Stasis Shard creation, per 6 shards, from 15 seconds to 10 seconds. We've also decided to change the functionality of the Whisper of the Rending fragment to Whispers of Rending. Now provides bonus damage on stasis crystals and frozen targets for all primary ammo weapons, rather than just kinetic primary ammo weapons. Yeah, that was a lot of that. So all in all, as I've played up outrage throughout this video because, you know, funny, one of the issues with all of these changes is a lack of focus on the actual problems. This probably would have been better for me if it would have included some of the points of pain throughout PvP, because without including those points of pain, this really doesn't change the moment-to-moment gameplay of PvP. Oh yeah, sure, a couple seconds shaving off here, a couple seconds shaving off here will, in edge cases, maybe change the way that the game's played, but there are more egregious issues that are just simply ignored or pushed off down the road. And because of that, outside of a vacuum where YouTubers load up a custom game and they test the new changes on one another, I don't know how much these are actually going to affect the game. Those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Remember to like, but only if you did. Subscribe for more. Feel free to donate to my Patreon if you're feeling particularly generous. And above all else, stay frosty.